So you're an indie publisher and you put out your book and it flopped. Now what? Hey guys, Christina C. Jones here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about, I guess, a bit of an unspoken kind of thing that I believe if you have been publishing for any length of time, I think that this is something that you may be pretty familiar with. The disappointment of putting out a book and it not doing as well as you thought or hoped it would. Let's get into it. So, where I want to start with this is the fact that success or the lack of it, whatever, is very, very subjective. What I might feel was a successful book launch might be trash to somebody else, and it might also be a dream come true to a completely different person. What typically happens, or what I see, is that usually when we feel like our book has failed or something else is we're either comparing to our past success, which I feel like is, that's fairly healthy. That's fairly healthy. Or we're comparing ourselves to someone else, which may or may not. A lot of times that comparison is happening with someone who maybe doesn't write the like quite the exact same thing as you, or maybe there's somebody who has been doing this for a much longer time, but we get these ideas in our head about what we want to see and what we want our books to do, and it doesn't quite work out like that. And so that's where that disappointment comes in. So you see somebody else put out a book and everybody is talking about it. Like all these people that you want to be talking about your book, they're talking about this other book and they're not paying yours any mind. Or someone puts out a book and they get 50 reviews or 100 reviews in, the first week or first 2 weeks or first month, whatever. But you're sitting over there with 3 or 4 reviews and it feels like, all right, what's up with this? Like, do I suck? Like, what is it? Or, these rankings numbers, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like to see the orange ribbon, but the science that goes into that, first of all, none of us are really privy to it. We're all going on, what some guru or something claims to have knowledge of, but Amazon does not give away. They just don't tell us that. They don't tell us their secrets. But what we can glean is that it's purely based on the books that are selling right at this moment on Amazon, right at this hour. It's all it means is that your book has sold this many copies compared to this book over here, and yeah, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's not something to be proud of or anything like that, but it's also not something to cry over if you don't get it. Because listen, it took me a while. It took me a while to start getting those. So don't stress over it. Don't sweat it. Is what I'm really. So not only is comparison a thief of joy, I'm sure you've heard that cliche, but it also will get you literally nowhere in this industry. Like the only place that that the comparison and all of that is going to get you is somewhere crying in the group chat to your friends about, oh my God, everybody likes this other book and nobody's paying any attention to mine, and can't they see that my book is better than that? And stop it. Stop it. First of all, your book is probably not better than that other book. And that's not to say that that book is better than your book. It's just they're two different books. They are not the same. And so why are you comparing them in the first place? But anyway, don't get me wrong. I know why you're comparing them, but I'm just pointing out that it's pointless. Like literally pointless. Because they're different books and different people like different things, and there's so much that goes into the success of a book that has nothing to do with what is going on between the pages, like for real. Honestly, it has a lot to do with the author. maybe that person is funny or kind or caring or really supportive to other people. And so people see that and they want to support that person because of that. And I'm not saying that you have to try to be something that you're not to sell books, but you should definitely be who you are and show people the best of you. And that gets them interested in you. And maybe in turn, they're going to buy some books too. Reader preference. This is a very real thing that I am by no means suggesting that you cater to. I just want you to realize that it's definitely a thing. I write Black romance, and so that means that I'm, I hate to even use this word, but I'm limiting my audience. It's a limit that I'm okay with because this is what I'm passionate about. I write for Black women. I write about Black couples for Black women. That's my crowd. That's my audience. That's my crew. And so I have accepted that because of that, my work is not often appealing on a larger scale. It's not appealing to a more mainstream audience. And it makes no sense because of that for me to compare my success to what some big name, mainstream romance author is doing, or even they don't even have to be like traditionally published. Even the I'm trying to keep my language cute here, but even comparing to more mainstream indies, there's no point in me comparing myself because the audience is not the same. It's just not. And even breaking that down even further, sometimes I write paranormal, sometimes I write rom-com. There are people who will not touch a paranormal, but I'm going to write it anyway. But I'm going to write it with the knowledge that the numbers aren't going to look the same. They're just not. And I can't call, well, oh my God, it flopped. No, it didn't flop. It did. It did a comparable amount based on what it is, based on what the audience was. And I'm not going to do myself or my work the disservice of comparing it to something that is really not even that simple. And I mean, there are people who support my work, who support Black romance, and they don't care what the subgenre is, past that Black romance breakdown. They're going to read whatever. But not everybody is. And so you have to just be mindful of that. Some people are going to branch out, some people are not, but you just have to be mindful of that. Don't let it prevent you from creating what you want to create, but just keep it in mind. Have you proven yourself yet? Like with consistent, good work? Like, do you have the work ethic to hang out in this thing? Because that's something that I feel like makes a very big difference in what that first day, first week, whatever reception is going to be. Over a 7-year period, I have built a certain level of trust in my readers, whether it's not 5 pages. Let me not start that. But whether it's 5,000 words or 50,000 words or 150,000 words, my readers know that I have put the same level of care into my characters, no matter how many words are on the page, no matter what genre I've stepped into for the day or whatever. They know that they're going to get a certain quality. Even if I was just having fun, I'm gonna pour into it. And it takes time to build that. It takes time for people to see that about you. And so don't get discouraged because everybody in the flock to your baby. It takes time. You got to have some patience and the patience and the work ethic. Where's your work ethic? I really hope you are not overly worried about how it looks to people. And I say that because I get it. You've put your all into something and maybe you've hyped it up, or, your backlist has been talking noise, and now your new release has to back all that up, and then it doesn't. Oh, it hurts. I get it, but who cares? Like, really. And I don't even mean that dismissively because my therapist has seen my tears on this topic. So I don't mean that in a brush off kind of matter, but really, who cares? Like, you have to figure out and dig into what it means to you that your book flopped. Like, obviously there is a monetary concern. I get that. If you're building this into your living or your career, you want a certain reception, you want a certain number of sales. But I think a lot of it is more I don't like how it looked to other people. And I just really hope that you're not letting that, I really hope that you're not letting that drive what you're doing with your work. There is really just this natural kind of ebb and flow to how a book is going to be received by the general public once you put it out. I don't want to. It's not that there's no rhyme and reason. It's just that it is a very difficult thing to figure out. You know, you don't know what readers are going to be into from one book to the next. You don't know when the next disaster, political or otherwise, is going to happen that's going to have everybody either depressed or distracted or whatever. You just don't know. And all of that factors into it. And so you have to really sit with yourself and decide why you're doing this, and decide if you can only do this when you're getting your ego slow stroked. My most successful book to date was one that I wrote in 2017. It's got over 500 reviews on Amazon. Good reviews too. It's got a nice it's got a nice overall average, and it is my highest earner. And I did not think that anybody was gonna like that book. Like I loved it. I loved it. It was very different for me at the time, and I just I just was not sure if anybody was gonna rock with me because it was so different. I never could have predicted that it was going to do what it did, and I also can't replicate it. So what does that tell you? All you can do, all I can do, is keep writing, keep moving forward to the next book. Keep pushing, keep working, keep writing. That's really my advice. When it comes to my book flopped, what do I do next? You write the next book. Write the next book. Write the next book. If you want to succeed in this, you're going to have that patience that I talked about, that work ethic, because this thing is not going to happen overnight. A flop is so subjective. I've reached numbers for different metrics that I never would have thought possible. And I reached numbers that, 2 years ago, I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. But if I released the book and it did those numbers now, I'd be somewhere ready to cry because it's so subjective. My very first book, it flopped. Like I literally had to give it away, flopped. But you know what? I was willing to do that. I was willing to flop then, and I was willing to flop for another book and flop for another. And those couple of people that picked it up because it was free, guess what? They kind of liked it. And so they picked up the next thing, and they picked up the next thing, and they told some friends. And I flopped. Sorry. I flopped and I flopped and I flopped until I wasn't flopping anymore. But it wouldn't have happened if I had let that first flop, if I just stopped there. If I let that have me somewhere decide, oh, I'm not going to do it anymore. People think it sucks. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to take my book down, or I'm not going to publish anymore, or I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to go home. No. You've got to have some stick to itness. I know that's not a word, but you gotta find it somewhere. A flop is not a flop. It's an opportunity for you to not fold under the weight of whatever idealistic, unrealistic, whatever expectations you've put on yourself. So really the question is, are you gonna flop, or are you gonna use this as an opportunity to keep pushing and get better?